Thank you all for coming today. My name is Aileen Zai, and I'm the Manager of Education and Community Volunteers for the Alzheimer's Association. I cover McHenry County and Rockford area west. So I have 8 counties that I cover. So I'm so grateful to Emma for organizing this for us. And we love to be out in the community providing education and hopefully some good strategies for you as you do your work, either as a caregiver, as a professional, all of that type of thing. So we're happy to be here today, and I'm going to introduce our community educator. Her name is Maya, and she volunteers to do this for us out in the community, and we're so grateful to our volunteers who help us out. So we're going to talk about effective communication strategies today. So take it away, Maya.
Okay. As she just said, I'm Maya, and I'm a volunteer community educator. And today's presentation is Effective Communication Strategies, brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association. Next slide, please. I'd like to start by telling you what the objectives are of today's presentation. That is to explain the communication changes that take place throughout the course of the disease, decode the verbal and behavioral messages delivered by someone living with dementia, and respond in ways that are helpful. And finally, to identify strategies to connect and communicate at each stage of the disease. Next slide, please. What is communication? When we think about communication, we think about talking. You know, I say something, you listen, you respond to that. But communication is more than that. Communication is also a body language. We can communicate by body language. If I'm standing here going like this, I'm going to send a different message than if I'm going, it's nice to be here, glad to see everybody. It's also the tone of your voice, your attitude, and maybe your facial expression. With people who have Alzheimer's, as the disease progresses, their ability to speak and to decode language decreases. And therefore, as the disease progresses, the way to communicate, will change, because they will, in the later stages of the disease, no longer be able to communicate with you verbally or understand what you're saying to them verbally. Next slide, please. Alzheimer's is divided into 3 stages: early, mid-stage, and late stages. And as the disease progresses, people lose their ability to communicate. They can't decode the language. They can't decode what you're saying, and they lose the ability to speak. In the early stages, they're still able to convey thoughts, and language. But as they move through the mid stages, they can still respond to some words, but increasingly they will use body language to speak. And in the late stages, people might still remember a few familiar words, but at this stage, you're needing to communicate with them through other means, through the other senses. Next slide, please. Changes in communication in the early stages. You may find they have difficulty finding the right words, taking longer to speak and to respond. They may withdraw from conversation or struggle with decision-making and problem solving. And as you go through the stages, this changes, but you need to keep connected with people. You need to keep connected to people and not withdraw from someone who has Alzheimer's, because particularly in the early stages of the disease, the person has just learned that they have this terrible disease, which is not curable. A lot of people will withdraw and go into denial, or they can be at the other extreme where people are, very emotional about it. So this is a time, to talk this through, to understand, to come to terms with the disease, both for the person who has the disease as well as their caregiver. So this is a very important time to be talking to people. Then let's go on to watch a video from Martha, who is works for the Alzheimer's Association and talks about communicating with people in the early stages of Alzheimer's.
Communicating in the early stages of dementia with the person with the disease is important. At that time, you still have language as a tool. So you can learn things about what they might prefer as the disease progresses. For example, as the disease progresses, a person might have difficulty finding words. Caregivers often struggle to know what to do in that moment. Early on in the disease, you can ask. You can say, if you ever have trouble coming up with the word, would you rather that I jump in and give you the word, or do you want me to wait and allow you some time so you can find it on your own?
When communicating with people in the early stages of Alzheimer's, ask directly how to communicate with them. If they're, as Martha mentioned, if they're having trouble with words, ask them, you want me to help you fill in the blanks, or, let me, or should I just let you take your time and think about what the word is? Keep sentences clear and direct. Don't go into lengthy discussions because they're not going to be able to follow you through lengthy discussions, and it will just lead to frustration. And take plenty of time. Take your time. If person, is taking them longer to comprehend what you're saying. So if you rush them, they're just going to get frustrated, and it will be harder for you to communicate. And include this person in conversations that affect them, in conversations about what they plan for, what the long-term plan is for their care. In one of the other presentations, it's mentioned that at this time, talking to them about the care is a gift to the caregiver, because they can talk about what it is they want and how they see their care as the disease progresses. And when the caregiver has to make decisions, you have this information that they have given to you about what their thoughts are on it. Next, please. Avoid making assumptions about communicating with a person. Ask them questions, ask them directly. People move at different rates through the disease, so the communication, is going to be different for everybody. Speak directly to the person, and you might find that some people find it easier to communicate not face to face, but maybe over the phone or with email. And take the time to laugh. This is a very stressful time for everybody. So take a deep breath and find something humorous in what's going on. And be honest and stay connected with the person. Don't withdraw from them. This is an important time for them and for you to come to terms with everything, and they need your love and your support and your friendship. So be there for them, talk to them, do things with them. Next, please. The middle stages of Alzheimer's. As you move through Alzheimer's in the mid stages, it becomes increasingly difficult to find the right words. They may use the same words over and over again, or they may invent new words for things because they can't remember the word. For example, a wristwatch. They can't remember the word wristwatch. They say, well, it's a hand clock. It's on your hand and it's a clock. It'll be harder for them to follow a person's train of thought. They may speak less frequently and communicate more through behavior and less through verbal communication. You may also find that they will, as they progress, it'll be hard for them to put together words logically. If their English is not their native language, they may revert to their native language rather than English. And if there's someone who's been the world's sweetest person and would never think of using a curse word, you may find that they start cursing. Also, may have trouble following conversations or watching television. They're not able to follow the story that's being presented. However, there's one thing to note. If you see these changes very suddenly, and the changes are very radical, it may not be the Alzheimer's. It may be something like a urinary tract infection. Urinary tract infections will produce, and some people will produce hallucinations. Or it could be a change in medicine or a side effect. If somebody's medication has changed, the dose has been upped or a new medicine, it may have effects on the person's ability to speak and comprehend. In those cases, be sure to go see a doctor. Your medical, it's an emergency, have them see their medical professional. And as you go through the middle stages, you need to adjust in the way that you communicate with the person. And let's listen to Beverly, who is a support group facilitator and also whose husband has Alzheimer's, about communicating with someone in the mid stages of the disease.
I would advise couples, and I usually do advise the caregiver who comes to the group and is caring for a spouse, that you take your time. Always count to 3 before you respond, because it gives you time to think about your answer and what's going on. Generally, in a marital dispute, it's quick. It's back and forth. You're quick to give an answer. When they've been diagnosed, to sit back and say, okay, you're supposed to be the one that's reasonable here. Let's change how we do this, because there's only one thing you can control, and that's you. You cannot control them and their process.
To connect with people in the mid stages of the disease, and approach them in a gentle manner. Use a voice that's soothing. If you're going to be tense, they're going to notice that as well. Approach them directly. A good way to start is to, look them in the eye, get their attention, and tell them who you are, so they have this frame of reference. For example, hi, Dad, it's Maya, your daughter. But you need to make sure you get their attention. And what sometimes might help is to actually touch them. It will not only focus them on you, but it's also giving them, a contact, a way to communicate that says, I'm here to support you. And when you talk to them, don't criticize the person, because they will not understand your perspective. And if you start criticizing them, the only thing that'll do is it will make them more agitated, and they'll withdraw, and you won't be, the communication, will backfire on you. And always take the time. Don't rush the person. Again, that may only frustrate them. And use a gentle and soothing voice, and let them know that you're there for them, to support them and to help them. And then we'll watch a slide from Rebecca, whose mother has Alzheimer's, about her experiences in communicating with her mother.
She could sense my frustration, because occasionally I would lose my patience and I would bark at her. Why are you asking me that question again? I just answered that question 2 minutes ago. And then she would get frustrated because, she was very old school, and she's like, don't disrespect me. And I didn't ask you that question 2 minutes ago. It's a new question. So phase 2 of our relationship was like, okay, that's a new question. I'll answer it again.
In communicating with someone with Alzheimer's, join their reality, because they will not be able to join yours. If you talk to the person, find out if they have a need, try and find out what the need is. And if it's a physical need or their pain or something, this is something you can address directly. But try to understand what the emotions are behind what the person is saying. For example, someone who's had their driving privileges revoked may say, well, I can drive just fine, don't worry about it. But what they may really be saying is that you're taking my independence away from me. The driving is my, that's something I could do, and now I can't do it anymore. Or if they say something like, stop taking over my life. I really hate it that you're doing that. The emotion behind it is they have this disease and they're having trouble coming to terms with it. And they don't understand really what's happening, and the way they're expressing it is, saying that, I really hate this. So you need to join their reality and try to decode what it is that what their feelings are, their emotions are behind what they're saying. And when we speak with them, be brief and to the point. Again, lengthy explanations are, they won't be able to follow and will only be frustrating. And look for nonverbal communications. For example, if someone's rummaging through their things, they may be just looking for something that they can't find, or it may be a sign of boredom. If there's something they don't like to do, like for instance, to shower, if they don't like it, or the water is too hot or too cold, they may not be able to tell you that, but they may respond by hitting. So you need to look at what the emotion is behind what they are saying. Look at what it is, and if it's something, redirect them to doing something else. If they, rather than having them dwell on, what the issue might be. Next slide, please. Talking to them, keep sentences short and basic. Speak slowly and clearly, one person, one question at a time. Don't barrage them, with 2 or 3 questions, because they won't be able to follow you. You may need to repeat things more than once, and be patient. And also putting an answer into the question that you're asking them may be very helpful. For example, you say, what would you like for breakfast today? Well, that opens a whole universe of things. But you can say, well, would you like eggs or oatmeal this morning? You're narrowing down the choices, and the person isn't totally baffled because they won't be able to, because you ask them this open-ended question. Next slide, please. Connect with them with multiple clues. You may want to write things down for the person to remember. If they have tasks they need to do, write them down for them, label things for them. One way to keep them connected with those people that are important in their lives is take that photo album, label it with the name of the person, and label what their relationship was with them. So you can go through it with them and talk to them about who the people are in their lives and their importance to you. Again, avoid quizzing people. Ask them again this time for lunch. Don't ask them what you want for lunch. Say, it's lunchtime, I'm going to make sandwiches. Would you like turkey or would you like ham? Usually what they will do is select the last thing that you mentioned. But if they hesitate in talking, say, well, why don't we have ham today? Turn positives into negatives. If they don't, if there's an activity, like showering that they don't like to do, think of some way around it, say if their friend is coming over in the afternoon, say, hey, Cindy's coming over this afternoon to visit. Why don't we get ready for her visit? And use that as a reason to get them to do, what you need to do. And avoid quizzing them. Don't tell them, I know you know the answer, but you're just not trying hard enough. The only thing that will lead to is a lot of frustration. Enjoying the person's reality. As I mentioned before, they're not going to be able to join yours, so you need to join theirs. Feelings are much more important than facts, and go with the flow. If the person is not doing something that's harming them or harming someone else, join their reality, and adjust how you communicate with them based on the way they're perceiving the world at this point. Next. And then in the late stages of Alzheimer's, by this time people have pretty much lost their ability to communicate verbally. They may respond to some familiar words. So you need to listen to them for expressions of pain and respond promptly if there is a physical problem that is to be solved. And what you need to remember through all of this is that while the person is losing their ability to communicate with you, that person, that self, is still there. The essence of that person is there, and throughout the different stages, you need to, use that as a way to communicate with them. Remember the person they were. Remember their history, and always treat them with respect. And keep talking, even though they may not. They may not be able to respond to you. Let them know that you're there for them. You're supporting them. Talk to them. Read to them. Read poems. Sing songs to them. Let them hear the sound of your voice, because that's letting them know that you do care about them. And as you go into the late stage of Alzheimer's, communication is less with words and more through the other 5 senses. We'll now watch a video from Sandra, who talks about communicating with her mother, who's in the late stages of Alzheimer's.
I know that my mom feels aggravated. I know that she feels alone. I know that she feels confused. And I know on any given day, I don't know if I've made it better for her. I try. In these later stages, I've come to recognize that being really aware of the 5 senses is really important. Touch seems to give her a great deal of comfort. I know when I come over, I'm going to brush her hair all the time. My husband noted to me recently, he said, you should see the look on your mom's face when you're brushing her hair. She's just happy. She's just happy. She doesn't say a lot. And I do it for a long period of time. I comb it, I braid it, I do funny things with it, but it just allows me to just be with her in a way that makes her feel comfortable.
And connecting through the 5 senses, connecting through touch. You may, give the person different fabrics to feel with different textures. A good thing is hand massage with lotion, and if it's a fragrance that they enjoy, that they like, it's a way for it's not only you're not only doing the touch, but they're also you're going for the sense of smell. If there's nothing else, just holding the person's hand or stroking their back lets them know that you're there for them, and you're supporting them through this disease. Next, please. Communicate through sight. Look at pictures, colorful, bright pictures. Watch videos of animals and nature. Look at photo albums, of people that they knew. If possible, go bird watching or visit an our aquarium. Go outside. If you can go outside, that's great, or even sit by a window, because that not just stimulates the sight, the sense of sight, because they're out there, there may have squirrels, chipmunks in the lawn, there may be people walking down the street. But it also, you're out there, there are smells outdoors that you can smell, flowers. And also the sense of touch, because you're sitting in the sunshine, you can feel the sun on it. If there's a breeze, you can feel the breeze, they can feel the breeze over their skin. Sounds, listen to familiar music. If this is a person who loved classical music, play Mozart for them, play Beethoven for them. If they were a jazz aficionado, Wynton Marsalis, Coltrane, play music of artists that they loved. And if the person's native language is not English, sing to them, or play music, songs that are in their native language, or speeches in their native language, and read to them. Again, there's the sound of your voice to let them know that you're there for them. If you read books, poetry, anything, so that you communicate with them. But remember to keep your voice and your tone gentle and soothing, just so that you're soothing them, and they're not getting aggravated. Because I don't know if I said previously, they will react to you if you're conveying that you're agitated. They will pick up on that. And the smell, the sense of smell, you can put things in baggies. For example, if they were someone who liked coffee, put some coffee beans in it for something for them to smell. Again, fragrant hand lotions, which we talked before, is sort of a twofer, because it's both your sense of smell and the sense of touch. There may be other things, cotton balls with fragrances, that they may have liked, and cook their favorite foods for them. Cook foods for them that are fragrant, chicken noodle soup, apple pie. Next, please. And connect with a sense of taste. Cook their favorite foods for them. So they can, so stimulate their sense of taste. Give them ice creams and puddings. One caveat on this, though, is as the disease progresses, people's ability to swallow diminishes, and you need to make sure that this is something that they, the food is something that they can swallow, and that does not turn into a choking hazard. And then to summarize, to mention a few principles for dealing with people at all stages of the disease. Join the person's reality, because that's, they can't join yours. Join them, go with the flow. Understand and accept what you can and cannot do. If you are, try to find out what as much as you can about the disease. Find out what new developments are, what new research is. Alzheimer's Association is a good place to get information. Learn what you can do and what you have to accept. And always remember that the person, retains their sense of self. So treat this person with respect as the adult that they are. Even, if you can't communicate with them verbally anymore, you need to go to look for that essence that was this person and communicate with that. As I said, always treat the person as an adult. Try to decode the person's communication, and try to understand the source of their reaction to things. And always remember to approach them in a soothing, with soothing, quiet, with a soothing, quiet manner. And to change the subject just a little bit, we've talked about the Alzheimer's patient, but we also need to take care of the caregiver. It's very important. And we'd like to end with a few comments of Dr. Fazio in the Alzheimer's Association about taking care of the caregiver.
Taking care of yourself while you care for somebody with disease not only impacts your own health, but it really can impact the person with disease. So for example, if you're not getting enough sleep, you might be easily irritated, which will then sort of spill over to your interactions with the person with disease and maybe being short with them, which then might cause them to get frustrated. So it's not only important to take care of yourself for your own health, but really for you to really be a good caregiver.
Maybe.
And then I'd like to end with a few comments about the Alzheimer's Association and the resources that are available. The Alzheimer's Association has a 24/7 helpline. It's a free service. They're there 365 days a year. Next year, they're going to be there for 366 because it's a leap year. They have specialists and master's degree level clinicians who specialize in Alzheimer's. And they're there for people who just want to learn more about Alzheimer's. They're there for people who have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's to help them and answer questions. Also, they're there if there's a crisis. If you're having a problem with your Alzheimer's loved one, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you don't know what to do, give them a call. They're there to help you through a crisis. There is bilingual staff, and it's available. Their translations are available in over 200 languages. If you don't want to call, there's live chat available, and there's also for people with hearing difficulties, there's the TTY number. Also, there are educational programs available at www.alz.org/education. This lists a few of the programs that are available. The one I'm giving right now is one of the programs, but you can go on there, look, and listen to presentations that maybe that are interest to you. Again, this is not a comprehensive list. There's a lot more there. Next, please. And there's the community resource finder at www.resourcefinder.com, a long address. This is a place to go to find out what's available in your community. If you're just looking for information, if you're looking for medical services for someone who specializes in Alzheimer's, the people who are available locally will be listed there. If you're looking for home care providers are available. If you're looking for long-term care, again, options, it's a place to go find out what resources and options are available in our community. Other community services, the support groups. If you're someone who's a caregiver and is looking for a support group, you'll be able to get information about where to find and join a support group. Next, please. And then there's ALZ Connect, which is a bulletin board where people can ask questions, share their experiences. Again, everything, really about anything, from people living with Alzheimer's, caregivers, family members, people who are grieving after they lose a loved one who had Alzheimer's. So people ask questions, people put things on it. You can go and look at the site without creating an account. However, if you want to join the conversation, you will need to create an account. And then there's Alzheimer's Navigator, which is a free online tool that helps caregivers create a plan for the care of their Alzheimer's patient. You can create a plan, and they'll also provide you with information about services that are available. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention. Questions? Comments?
Anybody have any questions? Do you have a question?
I said, it's a lot of good information.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad.
I'm not a caregiver, but I was.
Sure.
And then, another person, not family, she had more dementia, My mom had Parkinson's,
Mhm.
but I see some similarities.
Sure.
And, like you say, the approach to the person. I learned a lot of that from caregivers. I've been stepped into cover. This was really good information.
Good. I'm so glad that you liked it, and I appreciate, Maya, that you were able to come today and provide this for everyone. And again, please visit the website. There's so much great information there, and always feel free to reach out if you have, what you think is a silly question. There's no silly questions. Yes.
What's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia?
Sure. So basically, we use dementia as the umbrella term. So if you think of an umbrella, and then underneath the umbrella, all the different types of dementia, Alzheimer's is one type of dementia. It happens to be the most common one. And sometimes people can have what we call mixed dementia, which is two different types at the same time or more. We stress that getting that diagnosis is super important, so that you know what you're dealing with. You know what types of medications might help, what type of extra services that you'll need and things like that. So getting that early diagnosis is really important. We know that it's tough to get into doctors these days, but just make the appointment and try to get that diagnosis. There's some new medications that have come out recently that address the early stages of Alzheimer's. So we really stress that importance, so that if that medication is appropriate for that person, they're able to benefit from it.
Vascular dementia.
Vascular dementia would be mostly tied to our vascular system, obviously. So the blood flow that's maybe not getting to the brain because of a vascular disease. So sometimes it's caused by strokes and different vascular type diseases like that. So it's a different type of dementia and different symptoms. It's a good question.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? And I know you guys, do you kind of deal with different behaviors at different times being professional caregivers? I think that's, and as you know, dementia and Alzheimer's affects everyone in a different way. So what's going to work for one person is not necessarily going to work for another person. So you really have to be open, as Maya said, to just be patient, try different things, go back to those things that are calming and soothing, so that can, your ability to care for someone, if you're doing things in a calm manner, I'm sure is more productive for you too. So, it all depends on our, and it's easy to get frustrated. We know that. And it's, one of those things where if you're able to keep that calm demeanor, it's so helpful, because you're going to get better results. So anybody else have any other questions?
Well, I'd like to add that it's important to have self-care for caregivers. To make sure that you make time for yourself. So that you
Right.
can be that patient person.
Exactly. And getting, maybe using some services, an adult day service, or an extra friend that might come along and help sit with your loved one while you go and get some self-care, and even just get a haircut, go shopping by yourself, do those things that are important, and just have a little break. So that is important. Very
Yeah,
good.
they're trying to release her on Saturday and they're like.
What services
Needle and
does
everything.
senior services provide?
Sure, why don't you go ahead and go?
I saw that little narrow transition for me to step up and start talking. But first, can I just say thank you, Eileen, Maya, for for doing this. We really needed to start having those tough conversations and providing those resources that are so important. So thank you guys for making this possible today. But my name is Emma. I'm actually the person who would answer that question. So I'm actually a caregiver specialist. I cover McHenry and Northern King County. So what I do is I provide resources to support caregivers for exactly what we were just talking about, the self-care that's so critical for caregivers, because we, as a caregiver, we face so many stressors. The staying up all night, why are they rearranging furniture at 2 a.m? The door's open, oh my God, where are they? Et cetera, et cetera. So as a caregiver specialist, you work with me one-on-one, and we come up with a care plan for what are the best things to do to make your life easier. Some of those things could be financial support. Maybe you're behind on a ComEd or an ICOR bill. You can't be a full-time caregiver and a full-time worker. So financial support is one of the big ones that can help get some of that stress off your shoulders. We also can use that financial support to do in-home modifications. Maybe your loved one is a fall risk and we need to address some safety concerns in the bathroom. Maybe a chairlift or a ramp to make things more accessible in home. Those are some things that we can do to make your life as the caregiver easier for your loved one at home. We also connect with resources like our partners at Alzheimer's Association, getting a lot of other tricks up our sleeve, like GPS shoe inserts have been really popular lately. When you're a wander risk and you don't know where your loved one is and you can't have eyes in the back of your head as much as we try, having tricks up our sleeve like shoe inserts have been really popular. Or for the one client I had who only takes his wallet with him, we got a tracker for his wallet. We also here at Senior Services have a caregiver support group. That information's at the back behind you guys. So we invite you guys to join us either in person or virtually. We also have the Joy for All robotic pet program. So if you're interested, that flyer is also in the back. They've been really helpful for our seniors who want that companionship, but maybe it's just not that time anymore. So the robotic pets have been a great way to solve that problem. You still have that companionship, but you don't have to walk them or change the litter box anymore. So we have all sorts of services here, not just as a caregiver specialist, but we also can connect you with home delivered meals, the friendly visitor program, respite, which is also what I do. So we have a lot of different ways here at Senior Services and with myself as the caregiver specialist that we can make your job as the caregiver easier so that you're doing the best job you can to support your loved one. So, yes, go ahead. Yeah.
So at what point in this process, it could be years long.
Absolutely.
Process. At what point in this process do people need to connect with you?
So
early stages, middle stages, later stages?
Great question. At any point you think you're ready to connect with me, I invite you to reach out because every journey is different. I've got clients who are taking care of loved ones with Parkinson's, MS, cancer, Alzheimer's, or even just a neighbor who is by themselves and no one else is there for them. Every journey is very unique. So there's not really a right time or a wrong time, but I think when you know, you know. So I know that wasn't a very good answer, but when you're ready, you'll know. But hopefully that answered your question. There's never a wrong time, I think is the better answer.
And I think it's just so important that we just talk about it.
Very much.
And, whatever your issue is, there are people out here, resources available that people don't know about. And I think it's that connection that we can have even with our neighbor or someone here at Senior Services Associates that can give you that kind of link to a life support. So I think that's the important part, is to just ask questions. Something that you think is maybe kind of out there that you don't think is possible might be possible. So I think it's really important to just really ask the questions. If we can help you, we're here for you. So I think that's what I love about McHenry County, is that there are such great resources, and they're really, it's a wonderful, and we're all connected in a good way. So, if we talk to someone, we can refer them to different services in the area. So don't ever be afraid to ask. Anybody else? Yes.
You have somebody who won't admit something's wrong.
Sure. And, you know,
I'm fine.
yes, and that's so common,
And you're
certainly.
married to it.
Certainly very common, yes. So what I usually suggest is for you to have a private conversation with the doctor. You are completely welcome to do that. And just say, as a concerned spouse, I'm seeing this, this, and this. And sometimes I find it helpful to make a list as things are happening. Just say kind of like, you know, he walked out of the house with no shoes today, or he, you know, whatever it might be that you think is not his normal behavior, just make a list. And because sometimes I know for myself, when I get into the doctor's office, my mind goes blank. So, you know, that list is helpful, and just bring that in and just say, I'm really concerned. If you're concerned about them driving, if you're concerned about different types of things, that's the first stop, in my opinion. So, really kind of reach out to somebody, you know, like Emma, that might be able to have some resources for you in regards to transportation, all those types of things, so that you can kind of have that toolkit ready when you want to have a conversation with your husband and say, these are the things that I'm seeing. I'm really concerned about you, and come from a compassionate, you know, non-argumentative standpoint, and just sort of say, I'm really concerned. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want anyone else to get hurt. And these are the things that I'm seeing. And you can come right out and say, are you seeing them also? Because a lot of times they are, but they're not, like you said, you know, willing to admit it. So, you know, having kind of just some things that you can talk about and find that right time, you know, not at a time where there's a million things going on and that person might be a little stressed out. Just sort of a calm time on a Sunday afternoon where you just kind of have that conversation and just say, what can we do? Let's work on this together and see what we can kind of make some changes. And it might be maybe just, you know, setting aside like organizational tools, or, you know, maybe they need to be on a medication. You know, there's all different types of answers depending on their situation. So. Sure. Yeah.
So I have a question about like financial, like how, if we contacted you about, you know, if their situation isn't necessarily like where they would qualify for any sort of like financial support or whatever, but you know, it's Medicare doesn't necessarily pay for, because it's they're not really needing, you know, medical services, but definitely need like caregiver support. Like, so someone coming in, but it's, you know, it's not cheap. And how, like, when they start needing like more care, how do we figure out how to make that work financially? Like, do you have people that like support, like the people that are kind of in the middle where like the caregiver, it's going to start affecting, you know, financially, like, you know, how do you separate them, and like how do you get sort of non-medical services help, or like when does it cross over to medical, you know, or where Medicare is gonna, I don't, there, you know, Medicare.
Yeah. You could probably answer this question.
And we have, like, would it be like caregiver services, or, you know, who?
Sure.
Yeah, so actually we've got two different programs here that do that. One is asset-based, one is not. I am the non-asset based.
Okay.
The other asset-based program, that's the community care program. I do have some information on that. It's right behind that group right there.
Okay.
The asset-based one will look at finances.
Okay.
So most people come to me because the finances are a little strict right now. I can go into that with you a little bit more in detail, but long story made short, my program is more respite. It's providing a break to the caregiver who's already pulling their hair out. They can't do this anymore. Oh my Lord, what am I getting myself into? And it connects the caregiver with agencies like our guests from Visiting Angels, who provide non-medical. See what I did there? And it connects the caregiver with the professional caregivers, so that the caregiver can take a much needed break and they step up and fill in that role. My program actually pays them directly so that you can actually really take a break. Because like you mentioned, it's not cheap to do that.
Right.
So my program is both state and federally funded. So you work with me, I do the paperwork to get the funding from the state, and we take care of the bill. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, like, cause they already have help, they have, but like how,
Long-term care maybe?
yeah, I mean, if they wanna keep them in, like, keep them at home, but like I said, it's like medical, it's not medical services, so, that's it is a huge strain, like financially, but not, like, it's just like that middle class thing where you still you're paying your bills and whatever, but like, like the caregiver, like we have help coming in and, so they get some of that respite, but like, it starts to like, the more care that they need, it's just like becomes like financially a burden, but not to where they're still above that, like, they're still able to pay their bills, it's like that middle in between thing, and
Yes.
like, they're not needing, like, they don't have diabetes, or they don't have something that's going to qualify as like a medical, like they need this because they can't take care of themselves, so it's like a weird, in-betweeners, they don't have a gazillion dollars to cover everything, but they also don't have $0, so it's,
Right.
it's cheap,
We've got quite a few in betweens.
Okay.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because like I mentioned, the long-term solution, which is usually more appropriate, they're pretty strict about what assets you have to have or rather not have
Yeah,
to qualify. So I'm the other solution.
okay,
And there's really not an in-between for the in-betweeners,
right,
if you will. And I can only go so far.
yeah,
So we try to be as resourceful as possible.
okay,
And Lord knows I find tricks up my sleeve, and we always try to find our partners to help supply out when we can. But you're right. Unfortunately, for the in-betweeners, there is not really an in-between. There is, I have yet to find it.
okay.
Working on it, but
Yeah,
you're
'cause it
absolutely right.
becomes like, for the caregiver, like their future, and like how, like you're spending all of this money, like privately, like helping your, loved one, but like, what about their like future medical issues or not,
Right.
whatever, just like living, so.
No, and what you might even want to do is talk to an elder law attorney and get some of the financial and legal stuff kind of set up, make sure that things are in the right buckets. And, that might be a place to start and be able to kind of plan for estate planning and things like that. That might be a step that you might want to take.
So they're just like protected.
Correct.
All right, so it's worth the conversation.
Definitely, yeah. It is, and it's a big concern, I know.
Yeah.
And because we're talking about years of care,
Yeah.
because that's,
Yeah.
and it's on a continuum, so it's not gonna get better,
Yeah.
so you have to plan as you go along, so
Yeah.
good that you're thinking about it. Yeah. You had a
I
question?
just had a comment. This was 20 years ago, but we had visiting angels for my mom and my dad.
Sure.
In the tonight. And there is the correct name.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
they're a wonderful organization. Yeah. So I think that's, that kind of goes back to that, being able to just have resources and find something and have that great experience that you obviously had is so important, because they're not there just for the person living with the disease. They're there for the families too.
They are for the family because, why we were able to have, live-in angels. And we gave them the weekend off because they taught us so much. They taught, I have 3 siblings left. They even taught us to do the feeding tube for one. We're more confident. And one day we had a big problem. We got up in the morning and it's not working, the tube was sour. And my sister was there with me. And I told her, I didn't know what to do, but I had seen it with her. I said, start pinching the tube where the plug is. And I got on the phone and I asked our caregiver. I said, don't come, but what do we do? And she told me, pour the 7-Up. Yeah.
She walked you through it, right?
My sister and I, we got the cry out of the way, and I put the 7-Up, and I'm sure she would have came if we asked her to come, but she taught us so well. We were confident to do that, and really not misstep people.
That's great. That's wonderful. What a great story. That's great. Yeah. Anybody else? Well, thank you again for coming today. We really appreciate it. We hope that you'll join the next 2.
Yes.
What are the dates, Emma, we've got?
So the next one is gonna be on November 20th, same time, but this time we're gonna be discussing keeping your loved one with dementia safe at home. So the flyers are in the back along with your swag bags. I expect all of you to take one. Also some snippy snacks, so please don't be shy. So please help yourself.
Emma's been baking all day.
I don't know who Trader Joe is, but please ignore whoever the imposter is. Don't believe a word of it.
And then we'll be back again in December, talking about healthy living.
Understanding and responding
Understanding
to
Alzheimer's.
dementia-related
Yes.
behaviors.
So that's another good one, kind of related to what we talked about today. So we've got, talking about behaviors and how to work with them again. So thank you again for coming.